Joining me now with more, Dana Loesch, author of Hands Off My Gun and author of the new book, Flyover Nation. Also Nomiki Konst, a Bernie Sanders supporter and host of The Filter on Sirius XM Progress. Good to see you both.
Nice to see you.
Thanks, Megan.
So, I mean, Dana, you're probably thinking, yes, I'm used to this. I mean, it's not like the mainstream media, they are not fans of the Second Amendment. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're not at all, Megan. It's not just that they're not fans of the Second Amendment. It's just that they have most of them have no idea what they're talking about. And it's clear when they try to describe things. For instance, HBO Sports, when they were talking to Jim Sullivan about the AR-15, they were the way that they edited his answer, to which he took great exception, he was simply saying he was surprised that the AR-15 was doing so well as a civilian choice all of these years later. And they made his answer out to be like he couldn't believe that people were buying them. They're just the same thing as M16s, which they're not. We've seen this kind of deceptive editing over and over again, and it's not just deceptive editing where it concerns talking to pro-2A people. I mean, we've seen deceptive editing with the facts. We've seen deceptive editing with statistics, just as a way to push this bunk narrative. And it's, you know, it gets tiring after a while.
It's tough, Nomiki, because there's no question that reporters bring certain personal views to any story they're going to cover. But when you have sort of most of them walking in lockstep on an issue like gun control, don't you see how bias can seep in here and there in a way that would be very frustrating to Second Amendment advocates?
Well, I see that the Second Amendment community, the advocates, is a different type of community than those that are lobbying the government right now. You know, 91% of Americans, including gun owners, are in support of tighter gun laws right now to close out those background check loopholes. Now, let's remember that a lot of the statistics that are being propagated by a lot of these lobbyists and the gun manufacturers are difficult to find, because in 1996, the Republican Congress basically ended all gun lobbying and gun research. I mean, we can no longer research any sort of gun violence. That's the problem, is that you have the media which is trying to cherry pick analyses, and you have these Harvard studies like the one that was in a few years ago that studied 2007 to 2010, which showed that areas where there are stronger gun laws, states with stronger gun laws, have less gun violence. And that's well, it is true. You can look it up. It's a Harvard study.
I wrote the book on it. It's not.
I understand you wrote a book on it. And you also
I got to respond
because there's a lot of stuff. Megan, this is exactly, her answer is exactly what we're talking about. First off, she's citing that 91% number. That was a poll that was paid for by Michael Bloomberg. I mean, if we're going to sit here and talk objectively about gun control, can we please not use statistics that have been paid for by the grandfather of the gun control movement? And it was a small sample of fewer than 250 people, and it was a push-pull question because I looked at the crosstabs. Furthermore, a report that the President commissioned, Megan, in 2013, there was a report that he did with the CDC which showed defensive gun use is used 500,000 to 3.3 million instances a year. No one ever talks about that.
So let's talk about that. If you want to talk about defensive gun use,
criminal usage.
So if you want to talk about defensive gun use, only one time in the last 30 years, that's 1.6%, has defensive gun use actually worked. There's been statistics on this. This is actually an area of research because the police department.
What does that mean actually worked? That they killed the person who wanted to shoot you? I mean, let me just ask her to clarify that. Nomiki, what do you mean they actually worked?
So when someone uses a gun in self-defense in a mass shooting, only one person in the last 30 years has actually been able to accomplish that. And that's partly because active shooter training is a very difficult form of training. In fact,
no, it's not. I've done it.
Does that take into account?
I've done active shooter
training. The gun and the guy runs away. I mean, like,
I've done active shooter training.
The FBI even says that it's a specialized field and not every sort of.
No, Nomiki, no. I've done active shooter training. I've done all of that stuff.
That's and in fact, Dana, that's your anecdote.
The qualifier mass shooting.
The FBI says otherwise.
3.3 million instances of DGU a year.
We have the highest rate of gun violence and gun murders in any civilized country.
Don't talk over each other. We got to go. We literally got to go. Dana, quick last word.
No, I think people need to pay attention to defensive gun use because it vastly, Megan, vastly outweighs criminal usage. But that's not what gun controlists want to focus on. Yeah, we do. The CDC report commissioned by Barack Obama in 2013. Okay. Not only that, but FBI uniform crime reports and my book, Hands Off My Gun. Thanks,
Which
Megan.
Says
I'll tell you what.
Listen,
if I'm in trouble, I hope Dana Loesch is next to me. That's all I was like. All right, ladies, great to see you both.
Thank you so much.